a music podcast from Tampa, Florida.
Welcome to Cigar City Radio, episode number 51. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, Mr. Jason Solanez.
Hey, Randy, I've had this idea to come out with a metal album. Do you know what I'm going to call it?
Oh, God, what?
Forsaken or
Okay, I mean, it's not terrible.
It's actually not bad.
It's
I
not
think it'd be all
terrible.
right. And it could also be a sandwich.
Oh, okay, now you lost me.
Produces its own cheese.
Okay, no more. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that one of our favorite music services is Spotify. Not our only favorite. We have lots of favorites. Shout out Tidal. But we do love Spotify, and we are on Spotify. So if you are also on Spotify, you should follow our user account, Cigar City MGMT, on the service. We have a number of public playlists where we can help you discover new music, new tunes, and also follow along with this podcast. So you can start with the Cigar City Radio Companion playlist, which features all of the music heard and discussed on this show. You can follow the Tampa Mixtape, which features some of our favorite independent and major bands from the Tampa area. And you can follow our 2017 New Music playlist, which features our top picks in the world of new music from every genre, no matter how popular or how underground. And lastly, you can follow our Cigar City MGMT Popular Tracks playlist, which features popular tracks from the Cigar City MGMT family. How about that? And you can also follow my 90s and 80s playlists, which are kind of fun. The 90s one is called Now That's What I Call 90s. You'll dig it.
This episode was recorded at Dysfunctional Grace, the only shop in Ybor City where death and dysfunction dance in a graceful ballet of seppiness. You can find all sorts of unique art and one-of-a-kind products at Dysfunctional Grace, located at 1903 East 7th Avenue in Ybor City. Follow them at facebook.com/dysfunctionalgrace.
Our guest on this episode is Ben Falgout from the black metal band Goatwhore. He's the first ever two-time Cigar City Radio guest. If you're a longtime listener, you'll remember that Ben from Goatwhore joined us on the show back in episode 11. When we found out Goatwhore was coming back to the Orpheum, we had to get Ben back on the show, and he was all about it. So, maybe we'll have him back again for volume 3. Goatwhore's new album, Vengeful Ascension, is out now on Metal Blade Records. It kicks ass, maybe their best record ever. So check it out, and check out our first interview with Goatwhore, and this one, Goatwhore Volume 2. So here it is, episode 51. Friday afternoon in Ybor City. We're hanging out at Dysfunctional Grace Art Company on 7th Avenue, one of our favorite spots. And we have one of our favorite guests who is back on the show for the second time. Two-timer.
Has anybody else been two-timer?
You are the first two-timer.
Awesome.
So, we're happy to have you. Honestly, your episode is one of our most downloaded episodes. So,
cool.
People...
That was pretty fun.
They needed more Ben Falgo. Yeah. They needed more you. They needed more Goatwhore. So we had to make this happen. We couldn't let you come...
Remember that little girl?
Yeah. No. We talk about that little girl all the time.
He was just pulling out pictures to show me.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if she'll be at the show tonight. You're going to have to look out for her.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Because she got the set list and everything. So
she was jamming out so hard at the show, like more than any adult there.
Oh, yeah.
At all, dude. Like, for real.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see her? She was fist banging and everything. I was like, holy shit, this little girl's out doing all you motherfuckers.
No, she was hardcore, man. For those who haven't listened to that episode 11 with Goatwhore, we had a young Goatwhore fan show up at this interview, at this location, and she took a picture with you and then talked a little bit and hung out. And she said that she listens to Goatwhore because it helps her with her problems. That she likes to, the heavy, brutal music really is good for her.
That's deep for a
deep,
kid
man.
that young to say that, to have like a thing where they know how to like sourced himself with something like listening to music to bring them into a mode or something like that.
Yeah, that's really insightful. She's probably gonna grow up to be like the greatest rocker of all time. Like she's gonna have the best metal album we've ever heard. It'll revolutionize.
Or a really good psychiatrist.
or that too.
Anything's possible.
Yeah,
I'm gonna prescribe you 2 albums from Goatwhore.
I mean, well, music therapy is a thing. It's a thing.
Absolutely,
So don't knock
I'm
it.
not knocking it.
So last time we talked, it was, you hadn't announced Vengeful Ascension yet. It was before the album. The whole kind of thing had come together. So now Vengeful Ascension is out.
Yep.
And, it's been out in the world. And the last time you were on the show, you said that the new album was going to be an evolution for Goatwhore. That was going to be, kind of a change. Yep. And now that I've listened to it, I can agree that, it's even from... It's like the controversial thing amongst the fans is that opening intro, where instead of blasting you in the face like Goatwhore usually does, you got, the tribal drums and it sort of builds up. So why change up the intro with this one? Why did you?
It was just, a lot of it kind of just, we'll work on songs and then we put things in place. And then Zach, like when we were doing that song, I didn't even know there was going to be a drum thing until we were in the studio. And then Zach had this idea. And him and our sound engineer, Jared, sat and they worked on this drum thing and laid it all out and put it in and attached it to the beginning of that song, you know? And if you listen to it closely, like you can hear this like little like weird whisper in the beginning of it. And it was actually kind of a mistake. But it was like, they did it and then I was like, and then they sent the other one. I was like, what happened to the version that had this little like creepy whisper in the beginning? And like, oh no, it was something and it was a glitch. And I was like, well, it sounds fucking awesome. Can we just put it back? It's like really small in there. It's like right when it first starts, you can hear it's like comes in. And so I was like, no, you should put it back. It sounds really fucking cool.
What's the whisper say? Do you know?
I don't even know what it is because like I said, it was a mistake.
Just a crazy
so
weird
it's
noise,
like, I guess somewhere there was a glitch and maybe a vocal got caught in something or something. So I don't even,
Go.
Maybe we shouldn't even have said that. We should have just said that was something secret.
something paranormal or something. Like what was that band that we talked to where they
well, you know what? In a way, that's kind of you say that it's kind of paranormal because they were doing drum stuff on just those tracks. So where did this little vocal thing come into?
That's what I'm saying.
This little glitchy like thing,
Well, because we had one band that we talked to, Post Animal. They told us like when they recorded the drums on their record, they did it in a haunted house, like a known haunted area, and that they have artifacts in the drums like before they even
like drums playing backwards.
Yeah, and just fucked up shit. So who knows?
Maybe it's possible, man.
Yeah.
Look at the store we're in right now.
Anything is possible. So back to the new record, back to Vengeful Ascension. That. One of the things I dig about the record is that you did you slowed the pace a little bit, but you didn't get any less heavy in any way. It's like almost more heavy.
I think we have actually some pretty quick songs on there, kind of reminiscent of like Haunting Curse. Not so quick as Haunting Curse, but more quick paced stuff like Chaos Arcane and Abandoned Indoctrination, Those Who Denied God's Will. They're definitely like. They tear in big time. But then we do have the other elements. And then like the song Vengeful Ascension too, I think is a different step for us as well. It's definitely, I know it's one that I had trouble lyric vocal wise with out of all the songs on the record.
Why is that, you think?
I don't know. There's always one song on every record that I come to, and it just seems like it's a huge wall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I'm being over analytical about it or what's going on with it. And then sometimes I just have to like step away from it completely and come back to it, and then I'll see elements into it, and I'm just like, oh, it's like this because you got, doing like heavy music too. You don't want to get caught in this. Like I'm always making fun of like the. Like trying to like this like broken up like Cookie Monster voice or this like typical thing, And it was funny because when I was doing it, there was parts as I had Sammy come in to the room and I was like, listen to this and what would you do vocally over it? Yeah. And he says, I would do this. And I was like, yeah, that's what I don't want. That's kind of typical, And it wasn't bad. I just wanted to see if I was like perceiving it in a fucked up way and I couldn't grasp it. So, he writes a lot of the riffs, so sometimes he sees it in a different light, and he was like, I think maybe it should be like that. I was like, no, that's exactly what I was doing, and I don't want to do that. I want to do something a little different. And so the song actually got put off a little bit vocally like when we were in the studio in Illinois, and then we finished it up at a studio in Orlando, Jarrett's studio out there, and we were finishing up some dates, and he was like, "So you gonna finish this one?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have some ideas." And we went in and we just finished everything up on it, and it all just flowed out. So, like I said, sometimes I think you just need to step away and kind of see it. And it was funny because he was like that too, and he was like, "Yeah, it is kind of typical. You do need to do something different. You need to do something different." So, I think sometimes you need to bring yourself out of a box and be kind of critical in a sense to kind of go into a different zone.
Yeah. Is that something you're conscious of when you're writing? Is like, am I?
Yeah, I'm over analytical about all the shit. Trust me. Like I get into those phases where I don't want to repeat stuff. I don't want to do this, you know. And it's funny because Sammy and him will go, "You can repeat lines. It's allowed." And I was like, it was just something I had, or something like I used to write tons of lyrics over everything, and I was like, no, I got to let the music breathe a little more. You know, I had to let the element of the riff and then come in after that. So there was a lot of things like as you go through the records, you can kind of see that element of figuring it out a little bit more and adapting to it and molding and evolving. In a sense, you know.
Well, that's what I think is awesome about the record, because it's like you've been, you know, Goatwhore's been releasing. You guys have so many albums out, and you've been doing this for so long that it's like, how do you continue to change up the style, you know? And
I think it's a mixture of a lot of different things. It's definitely, I think universally within a band, your influences shift constantly because throughout your life you're listening to different things, and you come full circle too. Like whatever, if I was listening to Judas Priest, Hellbent for Leather years ago, when I come back to it now, I'll see it and hear it in a different light.
Yeah, true.
Because being a little older, being more knowledgeable with how music is, you start to see a different angle of it then.
Yeah.
And then that kind of influence kind of starts to step in, and you adapt to that as well. And I think that happens with everyone within the band, and you all kind of work on each other. And not only that, you got so many like bands coming out, younger bands that, you know, some of these dudes are incredible and they're young, you know, and you're like, I have got to keep up my level here, or I'm gonna just be like pushed down somewhere, not involved in anything anymore. So it's, I mean, maybe it's competitive or not, but I think, you know, I definitely appreciate that there's young bands with so much, you know, ability that are stepping up the game out there, because I think it pushes bands that are a little older to kind of step up their game as well and improve and stuff like that.
That's so funny because, you know, you talk to the younger bands and they're like, well, we're just trying to do what the older bands are doing. You know?
Well, yeah, but the thing is they don't realize that because of the, you know, the evolution, they're already in a way better in a sense, because they're starting off so young now. You know, I mean, I remember when I was a kid and Entomb put out Left Hand Path. Those dudes were 15 and 16 years old when they put that record out.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess I never really thought.
And
about
I was
that.
like, holy shit, these dudes are young as hell writing this incredible record. You know, and now you have constant barrages of that. You know, bands doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a good point.
I mean, look at a band like Havoc. You know,
we were just talking about Havoc.
Those dudes are fucking awesome. You know, and they're like, I remember when they first started playing and how fucking good they were, and they just, ability wise, they just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
You know?
They're one of the most accurate bands I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
live.
yeah. Like, definitely, like, what they do on record, they do it live. It's not like they do it on record and then you go see them live and they're like, oh, well, he's not really pulling it off so well. But, yeah, they do. You know, I mean, we just played, we've done tours with them in the past and everything. And they definitely, they give a run for my money, too. Like, if I'm playing with them, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a hard night for me. I have a lot of work to do. You know what I'm saying?
You got to keep up with Havoc, right?
Yeah.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. That's good. I appreciate those things. I like that aspect of bands that are younger and they step in and they do that too.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want them to get big-headed either.
Yeah, no, they still got to respect, man.
Yeah, man. They got to. I mean, they're all really good guys too. And that's another plus. All those dudes are really fucking cool.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's it been like to be on tour with Venom Inc. right now?
I think it's awesome. You know, it's funny because we did tour with the Kronos Venom back a ways, okay, and now we're touring with like the other part of Venom, the other third.
Yeah. So you're just
The other
doing all
2/3,
Venom,
per se.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of full circle, you know, because now we've kind of in a way toured with the entirety of the original Venom, but not
together.
Not together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, some kind of achievement gets.
Yeah,
knocked off
I
there.
call it Venom too because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't need whatever.
Yeah, it was even like the first time I saw it, I was like Venom Inc. I was what is?
Well,
this?
you know, it's all that's the legalities, you know.
Yeah.
It's the whole Queen, like the Queensryche thing,
Right.
and Tomb too. Didn't they have it? They have Entomb and Tomb AD or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
So
Yeah, as long as they don't do like the Queen with Paul Rogers type thing, it's like I'm good with everything except for that.
there's no Queen unless it's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, that's like we don't have to talk about Queen the whole time, but like they're trying to make that movie, but they're like we want it to start like after Freddie Mercury dies and then be about how Queen the band banded together. And I'm like, that's not the story that anybody
the band
wants.
didn't without Freddie
Dude,
Mercury. They
no
didn't.
offense against Brian May.
no,
Brian
they're
May's
amazing.
incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, in his own rights as well. Everything he's done, his guitar tones, all the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
So the music they did everything they did together is amazing. You know,
Yeah.
but definitely if they're gonna do that, they need to do Queen, Freddie Mercury, everything about that. Thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like when you read about him too, when he was younger, you know, like he was like a shy kid and he didn't do things, but you know, his ability is I don't even think there's any vocalist nowadays that could pull off the shit he pulled off.
Oh no.
You know, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and he was doing it with very little like processing and
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
too.
there was like nothing.
Yeah.
Like and when you listen to like A Night at the Opera, you know, and you listen to like a Prophet song or something like that, and in the middle where he does all those vocal overlays, and that's all on tape, each a track that he did on his own, and it's just like, yeah, there was no.
No,
None
that's
of this
phenomenal.
stuff's going on.
Yeah, definitely none of that
computer
stuff. None of this computer stuff.
No,
man, no.
he just did it and fucking made it happen. And dude,
That's
when you
crazy.
watch some of that shit like live at Wimbledon and stuff like that, it's like, holy shit, this fucking dude is just like
Yeah,
on fire, man.
that's awesome. And it's awesome that you have such an appreciation for Queen. And
Oh well,
you know,
yeah. I mean, Freddie Mercury is like, I mean, I'll never be able to sing like him, but just like his persona in a live like performance level is just like so influential.
I mean, he was an entertainer like through and through. Like everybody enjoyed watching him. you know?
he was fucking awesome.
So that's super cool.
It's funny too because he hated playing the piano live too.
Did he really?
Yeah.
He was good at it.
Yeah.
He was good at it. But I think he said he was really, really anxious and nervous about it, but he was really good at it. So he really had this issue about playing the piano in a live setting.
Maybe that's why he was so good about it. He was focusing.
Yeah.
He was anal retentive.
Yeah.
Are you gonna start playing piano on Goatwhore live?
Oh yeah. We're gonna set one up to the side. Carry it in a trailer with us.
Cover an
you know?
Elton John tune.
yeah. You should totally cover an Elton John tune. Or a Queen tune at this point. You know? One thing I wanted to mention about Vengeful Ascension and the release of it too was that you put out this like spell book, I think is what it was called. It's like special edition spell book that would fit great in this store.
Yeah, it would.
Grace,
It doesn't really have spells in it per se. You know?
It has the lyrics,
it's more of
though,
a,
right?
Yeah, it's more of like a manifest.
Okay.
You know? But it was like it was a little idea. It's actually, some of the people at Metal Blade came up with it and came to me like, "What do you think about doing this thing?" And it has the record, but then it has a bonus disc with some like live tracks, but it has all the lyrics. And so I was like, "Oh, that's actually a fucking really cool idea."
Yeah, I think anything like that is really cool. And then when you see it, like it looks kind of like a spell book, even though it's not.
Yeah,
know, like,
I mean, when it went in, I got with the guy, and we kind of went back and forth a bunch about things because I was like, I wanted. There was all these different ideas, but I didn't want it to be campy either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we were like going back and forth about everything because I was even referencing like the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. I was like, but not so much of the campiness of the Evil Dead,
Right.
you know, thing. And then, you know, so it was a lot of different elements going back and forth. Then things within the lyrics, like the images that would reflect ideas within the lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to know is like how much input and
Yeah, we were going back and forth a great deal, man. Cool. I could show you the string of emails. It's just like relentless, dude. Like connected, just one after the other of going back and forth, saying, "No, what about this? What if you put this and this and this?" You know, so
yeah. But I mean, that's what you got to do these days. You got to like. You know, because everybody has all the music everywhere on the internet, so it's like to actually make a really cool product like that.
Yeah, there was like days too. So I'd get home from work sometimes, and sometimes you get home from work, you don't want to fuck with nothing. And I was like, I've got to sit here and look through this. And then finally, I'd sit down and I'd start going through it on the computer, each page, and then I just get in that mode. You know what I'm saying? Because once you delve into it, and then I just start writing down. Okay, this needs to be shifted. Because I'll let the guy I said, you do what you think first. And send it to me, and then we'll just start tearing it apart.
Yeah.
And I said, don't be offended. We're going to tear it apart, but I want you to start the idea, and then we can build it from there. And that's what he did, and that's what we did. We tore it all apart and put it all together from there.
That's sick, man. Yeah, so definitely, if you're listening to this and you haven't checked out the Vengeful Ascension spell book, I recommend it.
We have them on tour with us too.
There you go. Pick them up. You can pick one up at the show. So that's.
I think it's the better thing, the better deal out of the CD, just buying the CD or just
Yeah, I mean, I want the freaking book, man. Like,
Yeah,
like, that's what I want. Yeah, that's wild. That's right on. So last time you were on the show, we went a little bit into the kind of the history of Goatwhore, and we talked a little bit about that, but we didn't talk about you personally. You, Ben. Like, so I'm curious now that I feel like I know you a little
can
bit.
I have one of these?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what they're here for. But what do you do? Like, who are you outside of Goatwhore?
I'm just an average human being.
I mean, we can get more specific than that. Like, what do you watch Game of Thrones? Like,
yeah, I watch Game of Thrones. I watch Game of Thrones. I watch Walking Dead. When I can, I don't always get to watch it. So sometimes I'm like backed up with seasons. I am up to par on Game of Thrones. So
okay, I'm not actually. So
you want me to tell you what's
going on?
Yeah, tell him exactly what's going on. I love seeing this guy miserable.
Well, I was somewhere before we left for this tour, and me and a friend were talking, and there was like 6 people at this other table, and I was telling them something about it, and they go, excuse me, we haven't seen those episodes yet.
Like,
then y'all need to leave.
Yeah, y'all need to not be part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Then.
But no, there's that, and I work a job when I'm at home. 9 to 5, whatever. Just kind of cover things.
What do you do to kick back? Like, what's your?
I play video games sometimes. It's been a while though, but because most of the time it's like. Now it'll get a little slower because we're not actually working on music. Like when I'm working on music and we're touring a bunch, then that's when things kind of I don't get to do all the things that I just want to chill out and do. Like maybe watch movies or play some kind of video game or go ride a mountain bike or shit cool. Like that. I mean, we don't have no mountains in Louisiana.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where are you mountain
well, sometimes
biking?
I take a trip, to Texas or something,
with
it, Central Texas or whatever, and go ride. I mean, I'm not a like extreme mountain biker, but I like to get out. I like getting out. Actually, I don't really have any social media stuff. Like I don't have my own like Facebook.
That's awesome.
Really?
Good for you, dude. That's beautiful.
I don't have any of that, and I just because I watch everybody and they're always like fiddling with it, and they're never. I'm just like, but there's so much out there going on, so I want to just go do that.
Yeah,
I want to go. I mean, I like more open places. Like I've always wanted to live in Montana. You know?
I've never been to Montana, so I can't.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to go to Montana. What's in Montana?
I don't know. There's just something about it that like I've been to it before, and I'm drawn to it for some reason.
Just all the the nature.
It's like unadulterated outdoors. You just get.
And no, I was always this big fan of like the really wicked Wild West. You know? Like when you think of like Deadwood,
tumbleweeds,
when you go
shit.
that was like the area that there was no law and everything was sort of, and there was Indians and it was just it was just fucking chaos.
Yeah, it was the Wild West.
So I mean, it's not like that anymore, of course, except maybe probably in a few little spots.
There's some spots in Montana. Probably, like,
I'm sure there's something crazy.
Yeah,
but,
you do something wrong, they got to go and get the law.
But I think I'm like drawn to that kind of aspect too.
Okay.
It's funny too because it snows there fucking ruthlessly. But I never grew up in snow.
Dude,
but,
people die in that.
Yeah,
nobody can handle that.
You go out in Montana, you die. Like, that's what I don't like about the snow and the wilderness to me.
I drive a lifted truck, so I think that's like
So you'd be fine.
Yeah, I've always wanted a lifted truck since I was a little kid. It's not like this thing like to have, and I'm kind of specific about it. I don't like big rims. I like smaller rims, bigger tires. I'm that kind of guy. I'm more traditional lifted truck kind of guy.
Yeah.
A lifted truck that can do work.
Yeah. Not a what did the guy at the lifting place that does it? They had a good name for like all these kids that have the trucks with the big rims. They call them mall crawlers. Because all they do is roll around on concrete everywhere and show off their shit. But if you tried to put them off road, it wouldn't quite make it.
Jeez. Mall crawlers?
Yeah.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah, I heard it and I was like, wow, that's actually fucking pretty good.
No, I'm gonna start calling everybody mall crawlers. Like, I dig that. All right, so nature, outdoors, and you said video games too. What video games?
Like I liked. I was really into God of War.
Okay, great game.
All that. I think there's a new one about to come out too. It's supposed to be based on like the Nordic mythology. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
That's worth playing or checking out.
Yeah. I saw a video online for it, but so there's that, and then like first person shooter games. Like I was in the Battlefield, a good bit, and some other ones. I like that. They had that Red Dead Revolver game. And
Red Dead
Redemption, man. Hell yeah.
They're coming out with another one of those.
Yeah,
So you talk about kick-ass
Wild
Old
West.
West. Yeah, that's No, that's like one of my favorite games ever is Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
So to play more of that's what I want.
That's one of those games where the story could be taken out of the game and you'd still read it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But no, so games like that, whenever I can play, I like stuff like that. Like I have a surround sound system, so when I play like Battlefield, it's just cranked. And it's just like
dope.
The neighbor's definitely like, what the hell is going on in that dude's house?
So I'm curious, if you like the Wild West stuff, and I figure you at least have some HBO or on demand or something because you watch Game of Thrones, have you watched Westworld?
Yes, I've watched some of it. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. It's a remake, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's it's like another story, right? Isn't it like a book or something, or did they make it?
So.
I think it's an adaptation.
I don't know anything about Westworld,
but that's interesting. I mean, I would if that was like something real, I would totally pay to go do that.
It's sci-fi meets a western where basically they create this whole Wild West story that people get to step in because everything's technically like a robot, but they try to make it super realistic and everything goes off the rails and it gets all dramatic because you got to do that in the story. It's actually really solid.
Like they start to get intelligence and stuff, and they start to
it starts becoming true AI.
See, the thing that I don't like about that is I feel like we're not that far from that being a reality, and that freaks me out.
No,
well, this is the problem I have is like the way the current world is. We're not that far from that, but we're also not that far from idiocracy as well.
Yes,
so you're like sitting on the line right there in the middle where you're like, oh no, which side are we going to sway to?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know.
I think we're idiocracy one's looking pretty close.
Yeah.
Terry Crews can take control of everything.
Dude, I would much rather have Terry Crews.
I'm ready for Fuddruckers to be butt fuckers soon. You know, it's going to happen eventually.
Oh, that's some nasty stuff, man.
Well, what was that? Carl's Jr. runs everything, right?
Yeah.
Is that another one?
Or like everything's Costco or something. Yeah, I need to rewatch Idiocracy. What a great movie.
You know what's funny is that when that was out in Costco, we didn't even have a Costco. When
really?
When that movie came out, so I didn't even really know, like, what the hell is Costco?
And then
I was like, I guess it's like Sam's or something, you know?
Yeah.
And then it appears, oh my God, it's real. It's coming true.
So what part of Louisiana are you in?
New Orleans. Like
in
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans,
Well,
right?
I'm in the suburb. I live in Metairie, which is like a little west of New Orleans. But it takes me like 15 minutes to get to the city center.
So that's not bad.
Yeah. So New Orleans is kind of the hub, though. There.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, we rehearse in New Orleans. Yeah.
Why did you say it like
because I just kind of coughed.
Okay,
actually.
I thought there was like some bad news there or something.
No, but we rehearse in New Orleans. That's our rehearsal space.
Yeah. So you mentioned like Havoc earlier. Who are some other sort of contemporary metal bands that you've been digging and listening to?
Is Valenfire considered contemporary? I mean, it's some dudes that were, he was in Paradise Lost and stuff, but he created a fucking intense fucking band.
Yeah, I mean that I haven't heard them. So
Nails, that's pretty contemporary. Yeah, pretty brutal. I like some of the brutal shit. It just brings back some elements of being younger.
Yeah.
So Valenfire is the same way with that. It's really intense and,
How did you get to be brutal? What was the catalyst?
I don't even know if I never realized I was brutal actually.
brutal as fuck.
Give me your babies.
I just think to me it's like there's an element, like when you're doing the music, there's this element. I don't know. Some people might see it and they might think it's silly, but there's an element and there's a feel in it, and I think there's this whole persona in a sense to it, and I don't know, it makes me feel that way, like when I listen to a Nails record, I definitely like I'd like to grab somebody and toss them into like a pile of glass or something. It's like, I mean, maybe that's not what they were going for, but it gives you that, that impact.
Yeah. Like
I guess if I was a jog, I'd be like, I work out to it every day.
Punch everybody you're running by.
So what brought you into the metal fold? Like where did it?
Why choose brutality?
Where did the interest spark?
I don't know. I was younger, and I started like things like early Motley Crue and Def Leppard and stuff. Like my sisters were listening to, like they had some friends they were hanging out with that played in some like bands like in that kind of vein, and that's when I kind of listened to it. But then I was skateboarding, and I had friends that were, into like some punk stuff, Dead Kennedys and things. So a lot of things kind of blended.
Yeah.
So when I was listening to it, it was like a bunch of different elements. So it'd be like Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love, Motorhead, Ace of Spades. It'd be Black Flag, it'd be all these mixture things because everything was starting to come in. Yeah. And then also on Friday nights and Saturday nights, there's a college station. It's for Tulane University. It was called WTUL. Mm-hmm. And they would play on Friday night from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. was I think that was metal night. And then the Saturday night was hardcore night or vice versa, either or. So I'd sit up and listen to those because then they'd play stuff. And I'd be like, and they'd say, oh, well, this was so-and-so. This was the Cro-Mags. This was, and I'd be like, holy shit, this was awesome. And then I would go to the store. And then also when you went to the stores then too, like Tile Records, and we had some cool record stores. Yeah. You'd come across somebody and they'd be like, oh, man, you ever heard this? I'd be like, no, well, let's get this. Or I'd go in the record stores and buy stuff on a whim. I would go, I remember a record store called Record Bar in the mall, and it had sections, like metal, hardcore, punk. Yeah. And I would just look through the stuff, and then I'd randomly pick things, just like, oh, the cover. That's how I got like Celtic Frost Morbid Tales.
Sure, yeah.
I pulled it out, and I was like, oh, yes, this is definitely being purchased. Even if it's terrible, this cover is amazing. So there was some of it you just took a whim off. You don't, like today, you can just go listen to something,
Before you couldn't just know how it was going to be.
So sometimes you had to just, maybe you lost $10, Yeah. There was a few records I bought, and I was just like, oh, man. And I try to sell it to my friends. You need this, man. Yeah. Really? Yeah. Can I hear it? No, just buy it from me.
Sight unseen. Oh, man. See, I miss it's great that there's still obviously all these great small independent record stores, but I do miss the kind of giant CD shops and stuff, like your Sam Goody's and Virgin Record Store and like and the reason for it is because they had so many products that you could find stuff that like I've never seen this before in my life. You know? Like
no, I agree. There's just different eras with it. I mean, I like it now too in some ways, because I like things like Bandcamp and stuff like that because then it shows a lot of these younger bands that are coming out that aren't even signed, but they're putting out incredible stuff, and they got stuff all over Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's amazing. Bandcamp in particular has become a really good hub for like, DIY, like indie punk stuff, and then also like really good metal.
Yeah, it has. It's kind of like when I used to tape trade too. I used to do that, with people overseas, and people would send tapes back and forth, and you'd have like a bunch of bands on a tape, and then that's how you discover more stuff as well.
Yeah,
and that's what Bandcamp's like, because you'll listen to it, and then it's got links to like, oh, well, you might like all these things, and so you're like, and it just keeps going, and it's just like roots from a tree, and it just keeps going, branching off more and more and more.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I get into those like YouTube holes, where you start on one YouTube video, and then you see like recommended, and then next thing you know, I'm like, how did I get from here to here?
I like getting caught up in the Kiss ones when they weren't wearing their makeup on that. When I like really need a good laugh, I'm like, oh yeah, let's start here. Bing. Oh, this is great.
So we're joined here today by Connor from local thrash metal band Bloodbath and Beyond.
Yes,
great name. So I know. Did you have some questions for Ben?
Oh no, I'm just along for the ride.
You didn't have a question? I thought you had a question.
I could dig up a question. Y'all started in Louisiana, right? Y'all started in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, sort of, because Sammy and Zach, the original drummer, Zach Nolan, they kind of started. They lived down near Thibodaux. Louisiana, which is about an hour.
I'm from there.
Yeah. So that's it kind of started out in that area because they had a band called Kilgore. It was like more like necro, grind, death kind of band. And then it evolved, and they had some other members, and then it turned into Goatwhore. And then that's when Sammy was at this bar in Baton Rouge, and there was a fight that broke out, and he got his jaw broken. And then I knew the stuff they were doing, and I offered to kind of help out for some of the shows. And then after everything healed, I just kind of stayed in the band.
Nice.
So, but we used to practice out there too, because I would get off of work and drive to Thibodaux, go to practice, and I'd sleep on the road somewhere because I was so tired after that, going to work all day and then driving out there, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna just sleep in the truck, and then I'd wake up, and then I'd just drive into work the next day.
Are you from Louisiana?
Yeah.
Originally?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Out of Metairie, or?
Yeah, I was born in New Orleans, but I've lived in Metairie pretty much my whole life. Yeah. Cool. So, but then eventually, Sammy moved out to New Orleans, and then everything kind of. But then, wait. So we used to practice in Thibodeau out there, and then we practiced in it was like in between Thibodeau and New Orleans. There was this like little gas station. It was like a old abandoned gas station, and this guy let us rehearse there for like $50 a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
So we did that for a little while, and then we finally started doing it in New Orleans.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
And New Orleans has like always kind of been a pretty sweet metal hub, I feel like.
Yeah. It's very unique. I think it's really close knit too. I don't think.
Yeah,
I think some people think it's bigger than it really is. I think it's really kind of small in a certain sort of way.
There's just a lot of guys that play in like multiple bands.
Yeah. There's a lot of shared members and stuff like that. Definitely.
But are you in any other bands besides Goatwhore?
Right now, no. Well, I mean, Solent hasn't done anything, and it's in this like limbo.
Yeah,
wherever.
There was a guy who's just in here with a big Soylent Green like jean jacket or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the band.
Yeah, it was that. I was talking to somebody the other night about Solent, and they were asking me, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Brian's doing I God, Tommy does Crowbar. It's just, I think, scheduling and Solent's a complicated machine too. It's just musically it was always really obscure and did some odd shit. So
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. Trust me, if they wanted to do a show, I would do it.
Yeah,
because I really enjoy doing this stuff for sure. I'm definitely like not against it or anything. It's just everybody's schedules and planning things out. So
yeah, makes sense. All right, well, I think we're pretty much out of time now.
Are you sure?
We've been talking about a bunch of bullshit for a while, but any final thoughts for our Cigar City Radio listeners, the Tampa crowd? Going to catch you tonight at the Orpheum.
Well, no, if I say this now, it's kind of irrelevant, but if you come out to the show tonight, we're actually playing 6 songs from the new record in the set.
Sweet.
We've never really done that either. We've never really, like when we put out a record, thrown so many in immediately right off the bat on a tour, and it was just like, it's like 6 of them in the set list. Just right off.
They're
and
great
it
songs.
Starts off with a song from the record. So there is that kind of like aspect because, not everybody's familiar with the new material fully.
Yeah.
And so you get that aspect where people are just kind of like waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we go to like Alchemy and people are like, oh, I know this one.
Of course.
And then we go into the other one and they're like, waiting.
Yeah. But so you got to have some of that because then those people are going to go back and listen to the new record and be like, oh, I remember when they played this
but I think
live.
I think the thing is it's coming across really good live and the people are taking it in. It's just they're not really fully familiar with it. I mean, a song like Chaos Arcane because it was released beforehand and stuff, we have that in there and people are a little more familiar with that. But like some of the other ones that we're playing, they weren't as familiar with.
Yeah. So then what you're saying is if you're going to see Goatwhore on this tour, you should brush up on the new album.
You should brush up big time.
Definitely.
I mean, there were a few. I'm not going to say it was everybody because there was people I did notice that knew what was going on completely. But, but I think it's good, too, because it pushes that. Because I think, too, as time goes on, too, I think less and less people are focusing on the newer releases and they're so focused on the older stuff. It's almost like they're like, lazy to get up what's going on. Like, oh, I like these records, so and I think this is kind of like we're kind of like force feeding it. Like, all right, well, if you don't have it, you don't know it. Well, here it is here.
Yeah.
And so it kind of pushes them in a position, and they're like, wow, maybe that was fucking awesome. I'll go get it tonight.
Yeah. And maybe they'll get it with
I'll go home and steal off the internet.
Yeah, they probably will do that.
Whatever.
But they should also pick up the spell book too.
Yeah, whatever. There's a spell book there.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, thanks again for being on the show. It's good
no problem,
good to
man.
catch
Thank
up with
you guys again.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be at the show tonight, and then we'll have to catch you next time.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you everything that happens in the last episode of Game of Thrones.
I'm out the door.
fair,
I'm out the door.
You like that one? This has been from Goatwhore in the last episode in Game of Thrones.
Perfect.
He's like, if he says it,
Yeah, I'm gonna be so pissed.